For thousands of years, we have believed that the greatest ancient structures on Earth were already known, mapped, photographed, and placed neatly into textbooks. The pyramids of Giza stand as the ultimate symbol of ancient engineering, massive, precise, and seemingly impossible for their time. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if the largest ancient construction was never meant to rise above the ground at all? Recent satellite scans have revealed vast, highly organized geometric patterns hidden beneath natural terrain, patterns so large that, when measured, they exceed the total land coverage of the Giza Plateau. These are not myths, not legends, and not speculative drawings. They are digital measurements captured by modern imaging technology, and they are forcing archaeologists to confront a possibility once considered unthinkable: that an ancient site, unknown to most of the world, may be structurally greater than the pyramids themselves. This discovery did not come from excavations or accidental finds. It emerged from space. Using advanced satellite imagery, infrared analysis, and elevation mapping, researchers began noticing unnatural symmetry in landscapes long assumed to be natural. Straight lines where erosion should curve, right angles where nature almost never allows them, large-scale alignment across kilometers of terrain, all oriented with deliberate precision. When these shapes were digitally isolated and compared to known ancient complexes, the scale became impossible to ignore. The footprint of this site is not slightly larger, not comparable, but significantly broader, suggesting a level of planning, coordination, and engineering that rivals and, in some metrics, surpasses Egypt's most famous monuments. What makes this mystery even more unsettling is how long it remained invisible. Unlike stone pyramids that dominate the skyline, this structure was built in a way that allowed it to vanish into the landscape over time. Vegetation, sediment, climate shifts, and human reuse slowly erased its visible form. To early explorers and archaeologists, it looked like ordinary terrain. Only now, with technology capable of stripping away forests, measuring thermal anomalies, and revealing hidden elevation changes, can its true shape be seen. And what that shape suggests is not random habitation, but intentional design on a massive scale, platforms, terraces, and boundaries laid out with mathematical consistency. This forces a fundamental question. If ancient societies were capable of engineering projects of this magnitude, why does history barely acknowledge them? Was this site built by a civilization we underestimated, or one we never properly recognized at all? And if satellite scans are only now beginning to reveal it, how many more ancient megastructures are still hidden in plain sight, waiting not to be discovered by shovels, but by signals from space? For centuries, the pyramids of Giza have defined the upper limit of what ancient civilizations were capable of building. Their size, precision, and durability shaped the belief that nothing earlier or elsewhere could rival their scale. But this assumption rests on a critical bias that greatness must rise above ground to be recognized. Modern archaeology is now challenging that idea. Satellite scans have revealed a massive ancient site, whose true dimensions were invisible from the surface. Unlike stone monuments that dominate the skyline, this structure blends into the terrain, masking its scale beneath vegetation and soil. When measured digitally, Its footprint extends far beyond what most people associate with ancient construction. This is not speculation based on myths or legends, but a measurable anomaly captured through modern imaging technology. The question is no longer whether ancient societies could build at such a scale, but whether we have been looking in the wrong way for too long. What follows is not a story of lost magic or forgotten giants, but of engineering decisions, environmental change, and the limits of human perception before the age of satellites. The discovery began not with excavation, but with data. Researchers analyzing satellite imagery noticed patterns that did not conform to natural geological processes. These were not random shapes formed by erosion or sediment flow. They were linear, symmetrical, and repeated across large distances. Infrared scans revealed subtle thermal differences beneath the surface, suggesting buried structures that retained heat differently from surrounding soil. Elevation models showed stepped platforms and leveled surfaces, where natural landscapes should slope unevenly. When these datasets were layered together, a coherent plan emerged. The site appeared deliberately organized, with boundaries, corridors, and zones arranged according to a unified design. This level of order cannot be explained by coincidence. Nature does not produce right angles over kilometers. These findings forced researchers to reconsider long-held assumptions about the region's past. What was once classified as ordinary terrain now appeared to be a monumental construction project, concealed not by secrecy, but by time itself. The site had not disappeared. It had simply become unreadable to the naked eye. When the site's dimensions were digitally reconstructed, the results were startling. The total surface area exceeded that of the Giza plateau by a considerable margin. This does not mean taller structures or heavier stones, but something equally significant: spatial dominance. The site spans multiple square kilometers, incorporating terraces, platforms, and engineered ground layers. Such an undertaking would have required extensive planning, resource management, and labor coordination. Unlike pyramids, which concentrate mass into vertical monuments, this site distributes effort horizontally across the landscape. That choice alone suggests a different engineering philosophy. Builders prioritized function, control of space, and long-term stability over visual impact. The scale implies a society capable of organizing thousands of workers over decades, possibly centuries. Roads, water management systems, and construction sequencing would have been essential. None of this could occur without centralized authority and advanced logistical knowledge. The comparison to the pyramids is not about spectacle, but about capability. By that measure, this site demands serious attention. One of the most puzzling aspects of the site is its material composition. Evidence suggests it was built primarily from earthworks, compacted soil, and stone cores rather than massive stone blocks. This made it structurally resilient, but visually subtle. Over time, wind-blown sediment, plant growth, and seasonal flooding gradually softened its edges. Later populations may have unknowingly built on top of it, reusing the land without realizing what lay beneath. From ground level, nothing appeared extraordinary. Early archaeologists, trained to look for temples, walls, and statues, had no reason to suspect a megastructure hidden below their feet. This reveals a critical limitation in traditional archaeology. visibility bias. What cannot be easily seen is often dismissed. Only with modern remote sensing tools can we identify features that were intentionally integrated into the environment rather than imposed upon it. The builders may have understood erosion, climate, and sustainability better than we assumed. Designing a structure meant to endure by disappearing. Engineering analysis raises even deeper questions. The site exhibits precise orientation, aligned closely with cardinal directions. Certain features correspond with solar positions during seasonal transitions, suggesting astronomical awareness. Drainage channels appear designed to control water flow during heavy rainfall, preventing erosion of key platforms. These are not accidental benefits. They are engineered solutions. Calculations based on construction volume indicate an enormous labor investment, comparable to or exceeding that required for pyramid construction. Yet the absence of monumental stone raises a paradox. Immense effort with minimal visual legacy. Why build something so large yet so easy to forget? One possibility is that the site served a functional purpose rather than symbolic display. Administrative control, agriculture management, or ceremonial movement across space may have been central to its design. This reframes ancient engineering as practical and adaptive, rather than purely monumental. It suggests sophistication expressed through systems, not skylines. The question then becomes, why was this site ignored for so long? Part of the answer lies in the history of archaeology itself. Early research focused heavily on civilizations that left behind dramatic stone architecture. Regions lacking visible monuments were often labeled primitive or underdeveloped. This created a feedback loop where research funding, excavation efforts, and academic attention followed spectacle rather than evidence. Additionally, colonial mapping often misclassified engineered landscapes as natural formations. Once labeled as such, these areas were rarely re-examined. The idea that an ancient society could reshape land on this scale, without leaving towering ruins conflicted with established narratives. It was easier to overlook the site than to rewrite history. Only now, with objective satellite data, can these biases be challenged. The site's rediscovery is not just archaeological, it is methodological. So is this site truly greater than the pyramids? The answer depends on definition. If greatness is measured by height, mass, or visual impact, then no. But if it is measured by land transformation, planning complexity, and environmental integration, the comparison becomes unavoidable. The pyramids represent concentrated power and permanence. This site represents distributed intelligence and adaptability. Both required advanced mathematics, labor organization, and long-term vision. The difference lies in intent. One was built to be seen forever. The other was built to function, even if it vanished from view. Recognizing this forces a broader understanding of ancient capability. It suggests that what we admire most today may not represent the full spectrum of human achievement in the past. The implications extend far beyond a single site. If satellite scans can reveal structures of this magnitude hidden beneath ordinary terrain, then our map of ancient history is incomplete. Forests, deserts, and floodplains around the world may conceal similar engineered landscapes. Each discovery challenges the assumption that we already know the limits of ancient civilization. The past is not static. It is being rewritten by technology that allows us to see differently. The pyramids will always remain iconic, but they may no longer stand alone as humanity's greatest engineering achievements. Some of the most ambitious projects ever undertaken may still lie beneath our feet, waiting not for excavation, but for interpretation. And as more data comes in, one thing becomes increasingly clear. Ancient history is far more complex and far more impressive than we were ever taught to believe. What this discovery ultimately forces us to confront is not just the scale of a single ancient site, but the limitations of how we define civilization itself. For generations, history has favored what is tall, durable, and visually dominant, assuming that stone monuments represent the highest expression of intelligence and power. Satellite data is now exposing a different reality. Some of the most ambitious ancient projects were not designed to impress the skyline, but to control space, resources, and time itself. Engineering on this level required advanced planning, environmental knowledge, and social organization equal to any pyramid building culture. Yet it left behind almost no visible trace. That absence is not evidence of primitiveness, but of a design philosophy that valued function over permanence. As imaging technology continues to improve, landscapes once dismissed as natural are being reclassified as engineered systems. This means our understanding of ancient history is no longer fixed. It is actively evolving. The past is not fully excavated, and it may never be. It is being decoded through data, patterns, and anomalies detected from orbit. Each new scan raises an uncomfortable possibility that many of humanity's greatest achievements are still unrecognized because we were not looking for them in the right way. The pyramids remain extraordinary, but they may represent only one chapter of ancient engineering, not its final measure. What lies hidden beneath forests, deserts, and plains may redefine how advanced our ancestors truly were and how much of their story is still missing.